psychiatric evaluation. He was shot in the knee and the back. Well, Minnesota Congressman Erik Paulsen has said he was deeply saddened by the Arizona attack. He has known Representative Gabrielle Giffords since before the two served in Washington. Both were part of a leadership fellowship program. They traveled to China and New Orleans together after Hurricane Katrina. And Congressman Paulsen joins us right now. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
And I think until this happened, we did not realize that you have been friends with the Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords since before she was a congresswoman. I mean, this obviously must be devastating for you as a friend.
Well, it was not only devastating to all of us who are colleagues in Congress and to all Americans who saw what tragedy took place, but yeah, it was gut-wrenching when I got the news from an aide that Saturday morning, and I really was devastated, and I'm encouraged by her miraculous signs of improvement. So if anyone's as tough as nails and can show that it can be done, it's Gabby.
All right. Well, we were talking just earlier in this program with Senator Al Franken, who said that he's going to support legislation that would limit the kinds of clips that this particular gunman used that had 30 rounds in it. What do you think about that proposal?
Well, I think, in the wake of tragedies like this, there's always going to be new proposals that come forward. It might be on gun control laws. It might be in other areas because there are obviously some mental issues with this individual that was able to purchase a firearm. So I'm going to wait and reserve judgment to see for a full investigation to go forward. And I don't want to have any overreaction right now. And I know that there's a lot of resources that are going to be part of this investigation. And, of course, Congress is going to try to respond appropriately if that's necessary. And I think that's important just to wait and see kind of what happens in the few coming weeks as the investigation proceeds.
All right. Looking forward, one of the things that was postponed in the wake of the shooting was the vote to repeal health care in the House. You have been a vocal critic of the health care reform bill. Some people say, what is the point of having this vote, because it's not going to pass the Senate. It may pass the House, and the President certainly would veto it.
Well, I think it's important to have a vote on getting health care reform right. And when the health care debate came up actually just a little over a year and a half ago, it was all in the context of reducing health care premiums for families and small businesses. And even the Congressional Budget Office admits that health care insurance premiums are going to go up in part due to the law. And so we need to get this right. And so I think whether it's repealing the full measure, which has some job-killing taxes from the perspective of not allowing job growth to go forward. That's medical device industry in particular that I'm very sensitive to here in Minnesota. We need to highlight those issues and make sure we draw it forward. So whether it's the full bill or making modifications down the road that are actually going to get it right for all Minnesotans and Americans, I think we need to have that discussion.
But there is a recent survey that said that more Americans are actually kind of warming up to the bill, that they like many of the provisions. Would you agree with that?
Well, of course, as the bill gets rolled out, I think there are going to be some folks that see some benefits to some aspects of it. Younger people being put on their parents' policy through age 26, and those were actually very bipartisan provisions. But when you have $1 trillion bill that has 10 years of taxes and only 6 years of 10 years of expenditures and 6 years of revenue growth, you're going to have a deficit down the road, and that's not going to be a good new entitlement program that we're not going to be able to fund. And so it's about jobs. It's about making sure we get spending right to help small businesses and families that are seeing their health insurance premiums rise.
Speaking obviously of this colossal deficit that we have, there is going to be, and there is discussion right now about the debt ceiling and whether that should be raised. Where do you stand on that?
Well, America absolutely has to live up to its obligations and pay for our debt. I understand that. I think that's important. However, we need to look to the future. We need to look to the future to making sure that just as Minnesotans have had to live kind of at 2008 levels of spending in tough economic times, Washington should be doing the same. So we should be making sure that we pair any debt ceiling discussion to meet our obligations with planning for the future, making sure we get our fiscal house in order and making sure we're going to be fiscally sound. That means having a spending program and a budget that prioritizes the spending that we have, and we're not wasting. Washington is very wasteful at its spending, and I think if you can pair that together, we'll actually have a path for fiscal soundness down the road.
All right. Well, Congressman Erik Paulsen, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. All right. For the first time ever, a Prairie Home companion with